Chip, can I just make a brief comment, just to remind everybody that, yes, this compact is about a balanced budget amendment and strictly restricted to that, but the compact process, once it is perfected and we learn how to do it, can be used for whatever interest you guys want to pursue. And that's the real long-term power of it, is that this is a way for the states to take charge. And it's not restricted, really, to the balanced budget amendment, although this compact is.
Nate.
Thank you, Chip. You know, this morning we heard Frank Luntz talk about messaging and how we have to take our message to the people and how we have to say things. And I guess for me, I'm passionate about my children and my grandchildren's future, and why I've been an advocate for getting a balanced budget amendment passed is because they're not going to have a future if we don't get this done. And what I know, and I've taken the spaghetti approach as well. I've been involved in the Assembly State Legislatures, was at Mount Vernon at Indianapolis. Unfortunately, won't be able to be here next week. But we have to get a balanced budget amendment done, or we're not going to have a country. We're not going to be able to have a situation where we're going to be able to debate a lot of the other things. So I think as a legislator, one thing that I've learned, you have to have your whip list. You have to know where you're going. How are we going to get to that magic 38 with whatever we propose? And here's what I know. We're going to have to go through a bunch of purple and blue states. Whatever we come up with is not going to be able to be necessarily a conservative wish list. It's going to have to be something that we can take to our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, for those of us who are Republican, and get buy-in. So what I love about the compact is it's doable. We can find a path to 38 states. I love a lot of the parallel approaches are trying to accomplish. Hopefully a lot of that can be done. But what I know is we have to stop this runaway debt. We have to get spending under control. So my question is this. As I've looked at this, I've heard a lot of talk about how the congressional involvement is a problem. In my conversation with congressmen, here's what I keep hearing, the feedback from them. You know, we're all politicians. We all like to get reelected. There's not a single member of Congress that when you really get them honest, it doesn't tell you they understand we've got a spending problem. But they can't figure out when they start cutting who they're going to get to blame for causing the cut. Folks, we, as the state legislatures, can shoulder that responsibility. Let them blame us when they have to go cut a program. The congressional people that I talk to would love to be able to balance a budget and go, you know what? It's those rotten state legislators out there that forced us to cut your program. At the end of the day, we need to get our country, take it back, and we can do it by giving Congress an out, and they'll embrace it. So my question to y'all is related to that. Have you seen that type of response from members of Congress that you've spoken with about this? Are they looking for that political out? That's what I'd just like to throw at y'all.
Thanks, Representative Bell from Arkansas. I'll take that question. Congressman Gosar and a lot of other congressmen and their staff, even in my meeting with the Congressional Research Service a few weeks ago, I could detect that there is a receptiveness to a state-initiated fiscal matter, and that, you know, if they have political cover, and if particularly right now, if the resolutions run as we plan it to be run, there is no immediate threat at the moment of hard fiscal choices being made from that act, that there's a very significant likelihood that you can get simple majorities in both houses. And we have found a lot of receptivity in Congress. We Congressman Schweikert, Congressman Culberson, Congressman Smith, Lamar Smith, a number of other congressmen. What's interesting is we've rarely gotten from Congress any sort of, oh my God, we got to stop this, or even sort of a veiled, I'm not totally naive. I mean, we haven't even gotten really much veiled pushback either. So I think there's a unique opportunity, particularly in this post-November 4th election world, for the states to provide leadership, fill that vacuum of initial accountability, and Congress is going to be receptive to moving it forward. And if you look at things historically, balanced budget amendment proposals have been made by Congress, and most of the serious ones have gotten at least simple majorities. They've failed the two-thirds threshold that you need to get an amendment out of Congress, but they've usually gotten the simple majorities. And that's all that this resolution needs. And it has the virtue of also having no immediate effect until we have 38 states in the compact. So it gives them a philosophical vehicle. And we know Congress loves philosophy more than they love action.
Congressman Lamar Smith in Texas, that's what his advice was to us. He goes, Chip, we can get simple majorities, but I can't get the two-thirds to get a balanced budget like this out of Congress being proposed by Congress. You, the states, have got to do this. And he said he personally would do everything he could to support that. That's the kind of reception we're getting. Just so.
Thank you. I'm John Wood from the Florida House. I'm the co-chairman of the Article 5 working group in the Florida House. And we had a very good session with our Article 5 initiatives. And we are going to be considering this Compact for America in the upcoming session. My question to you, is there anything in the Compact for America that would legally be detrimental to any of the other initiatives that are moving forward?
Nick, you want to take that?
Thank you for the question. Absolutely not. We carefully drafted this compact over almost 2 years of vetting, not just peer reviewed by Andy Schlafly, but our entire Council of Scholars, including Chip's dad, Senior Judge Harold DeMoss of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. We designed this to be a ballot measure approach. The terms are carefully defined so that it only applies to the compact, to the organization of the convention that the compact organizes, and nothing else. And in fact, one of our prime sponsors, a colleague of Representative Rakestraw, Commissioner Rakestraw, Andy Welch in Georgia, further modified those definitions to make even more clear that this is a parallel process that does not impact anything else. And in fact, in Georgia, we got behind all three efforts. We actually, on the compact team, were generous enough to say, you go first, we'll show our good faith, you run your bills first, we'll run ours last, we'll show our support for your bills. And with that tactic, everyone succeeded. And so one of the last points I want to reiterate is, even though I'm putting most of my eggs in this basket, like overwhelmingly, because that's the choice I'm making, I think the debt is what we have to grab for, it's the low-hanging fruit, and I think the compact is the fastest way there. I believe in portfolio approaches. There are risks and rewards that are unique to each approach. There's no reason in the world that anyone should say we need to occupy the entire Article 5 space with only this approach. I mean, to me, that's irrational. That's like an investment advisor saying to you, put all of your eggs in this one stock, and trust me, it'll be fine. That's not a strategy for retirement. And anyone who tells you that the best Article 5 strategy is to put all your eggs in one particular approach is a guy who doesn't really want to get to an amendment.
Yes, sir.
Kevin Lundberg, Colorado State Senate, and also co-chair for the state legislators' Article 5 caucus, which, by the way, we take the position of encouraging all and informing everyone about what is happening everywhere. And first, I want to just thank you for coming and being a part of this, even as we had a report from COS yesterday, and not a part specifically of the ALEC conference, but tomorrow morning at 7:30 there'll be a breakfast and a morning session with the Balanced Budget Amendment Task Force, and I hope everybody has attended and will attend all, because we do need to know. But the question I have, and I wanted to put that within the context of, I'm not trying to be critical, but I am trying to be to learn myself as well, is I'd like to hear a little more discussion on why you think taking the Article 5 process, which is multi-layered, and I believe an intentional, difficult process, do you really believe that, and how do you envision this working out? Somebody's going to challenge the changing of the process, I'm sure, into the compact one-step approach with the compact. Please tell me more on your legal defense to that approach.
Well, if I may, not to monopolize, but here's the bottom line. if you look at what the founders actually said about Article 5, you can never find a single founder saying this is a deliberately very difficult process nobody will ever overcome. You can never find a founder saying, guess what, the convention is autonomous from the states. It has full deliberative authority to do any amendment under the sun. You can't control it. If you try to control it, you're not going to have your applications recognized. There's no evidence at all that was the pitch from the founders. And so what was the pitch from the founders? If you take, for example, the Virginia Ratification Convention debates, you see that the Federalists there were arguing that this would be an easy process. You know, Patrick Henry got up there for 6 hours and said, nobody's ever going to go through this Article 5 process. It's a complete ruse. It has too many moving parts. Nobody could do this. This is a fraud. And the Federalists didn't go, yep, you're right. We were, teaching you how to be deliberative. They said, this is going to be easy, and it's natural to anticipate that the states that are bringing these applications will concur in the ratification of those applications, of those amendments. Now, why would they say it's natural that the states making the application for the convention would also concur in the ratification of the amendment if the intermediary, the convention, was not under their control, and if they couldn't at least have a tacit agreement on both applying and ratifying the same amendment? Right? So if you look at what the founders said, it seems very clear to me that they anticipated the states would coordinate their efforts, they would reach agreements in advance, that the process was not meant to be a multi-leveled, multi-staged, difficult deliberative process, that it was simply, largely, those features are a function of the technological limitations of the time. And once you realize that, you can start reading all these founding era representations by people like James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, George Washington, and everything starts to make sense. I mean, when James Madison says the states have an equal power of Congress to propose amendments, how does that make sense if you've got this supposedly entirely complicated, multi-layered process that we have to treat like a fetish, and we can't really get things done? It's not true. So the only way it can be true is that obviously Madison and others were thinking that the states would get their act together, either formally or informally in agreements, and run things through the process in a coordinated fashion. And all that is a compact in other language. All a compact is a way of unifying the states on an agreement to get the job done. So in essence, that's the argument. The argument is an originalist argument. You look at what the founders said about the process. Nobody said it was going to be a multi-layered, staged, multi-deliberative, difficult process. They never said that. Not once. No one did. Their entire sales point was this is easy, coordinated, the states would get their act together, they would agree on the front end and the back end. Well, guess what? The only way to make that real, that representation fulfilled, is a compact. Now, that being originalism is one thing. What the courts might say is another. And this is why I go back, my fundamental and final point is, this is why you need a portfolio approach. I firmly, unequivocally believe the founders anticipated the use of compacts. They may not have used the word, but they did talk about coordination, agreement, concurrent in the entire process between the states. They thought of it as a coordinated process, a streamlined process. They didn't see it as something incredibly difficult like the Philadelphia Convention. They didn't see it that way, okay? So I think originalism is clear. The problem is we have so much incorrect interpretation of this process that there is a real litigation risk, as you articulated. I think it's a minimal risk because I think with this court right now, and for a near-term project like this, originalism will ultimately win. But because there are unique risks in this process, you want to have all three processes going at the same time. They have different risk-reward profiles. We have speed, we have certainty about the process itself, we have a known policy product and a known political market to sell it to. Those are the advantages. The risks are it's innovative, and there is still a degree of education that has to happen. So that is why you want a multi-layered portfolio approach. But look, we don't have more than 3 to 7 years to fix the debt. So if we have a play that plausibly can get it done in a year, who wants to get to fix the debt has got to put some of their eggs in this basket. I mean, I say put 80 of them out of 100. But I mean, it doesn't make sense that if you really want to fix the debt, you wouldn't take the most innovative, quickest, streamlined approach to get it done.
Senators, I think the point, if I could rephrase maybe what Nick was saying, was that all of the constitutional elements are in the compact process. They're just sequenced in a more compact way, which has the added advantage of diminishing the role of Congress and at least cutting down on the ways Congress can screw it up.